Hi everyone, welcome to the energy update, the Fearless energy update for December 13th to December 19th. And this week and next week are sort of the finale of 2020. So a lot of stuff is happening this week, a lot of stuff. We start the week with a solar eclipse. We end the week with Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius after being in Capricorn. Saturn has been in Capricorn for 3 years. Jupiter has been in Capricorn for a year, and we're making the shift all at the same time. What's really funny is we have the big Jupiter and Saturn conjunction next week on the 21st, the same day as the first day of Capricorn season. But there is a day this week that Jupiter and Saturn are at the same degree. They're not at the same second, so it's not an exact conjunction, but it's pretty damn close. And it's at the final degree of Capricorn, so it's a very karmic week. Anything that's happening this week, it's going to be pretty obvious, the things that are holding you back, because Saturn and Jupiter, and we'll get into this a little bit more as we move further into the week, but Saturn and Jupiter moving into Aquarius is all about future forward momentum. Like, we can't go back into the past. We have to really learn our mistakes as a whole, as a community, and allow ourselves to move forward and to stop doing the same thing over and over and over again, even when it's been proven that those things just don't work anymore, right? We keep doing the same thing over and over again, even though we know that it is not a part of the jam. Like, let's move on already, right? All right, so before we get into that, the manifesting workshop on Monday evening, the 14th, it's the same day as the solar eclipse. It is going to be amazing. If you haven't had an opportunity to sign up for it, the last video that I put up about manifesting your life talks about the manifesting workshop, real ways to just make you feel good, to train your body, to train your brain into feeling better about things. 2020 has been a really, really hard year, and it's hard to feel good sometimes. It's hard to pick yourself up and keep moving forward and know that there's positive momentum on the other side of what's happening right now. So if you're struggling, if you've really been struggling to have like a positive outlook, to know that you can manifest things into your life, to learn how to create new energy, within yourself so that it starts to reflect in your outside. If your life has been nothing but pain and sadness and chaos this year, which I know a lot of us have been going through, this manifesting workshop will really, really help. So if you don't do anything for yourself this year, but take this manifesting workshop, like, that's how much I believe in it. I hope that you consider it. It's going to be a really good time. We would love to have you join us. All right. So Sunday, the 13th, the moon will be in Sagittarius. This is the day before the solar eclipse that happens. The moon in Sagittarius, trining Chiron, Mercury squaring Neptune. Mercury will also be conjunct the South Node and the moon. So there's this really big day filled with fantasy. Anything that has to do with the South Node, we have to remember, is about our past. It's about the information that we've already received, right? So we've already got it, but sometimes we can get sucked back into the past thinking that it is good for present moment time, but a lot of the times it's more about a fantasy, it's more about an illusion, or kind of the way that we want to believe. You know, there's some things that we really wish that we could believe in, but it's not the reality of the situation. It's not really what's going on. So be very careful of deceptive behavior. Be very careful of illusions that are happening, especially with that Mercury conjunct South Node. People will be saying things like, literally, like, people are going to be talking out of their asses. So just be very careful. It will be a really good day for journaling. It'll be a really good day to, like, if you're a poet, if you're a musician, work on the creative stuff. If you're an artist in any way, tomorrow's going to be a really great day to be creative. I'm doing this on Saturday, by the way. That's why I keep saying tomorrow. But Yeah, so really do creative things, allow yourself to get lost in the creative process, if you will. That'll be really helpful. So then we go to Monday the 14th, where we have the solar eclipse. The solar eclipse happens at 23 degrees and 8 seconds. It'll happen at 11:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mercury is still going to be on the south node. This eclipse is about freedom. This eclipse, you know, Sagittarius, it's like the ultimate wanderer of the, you know, the world, the one that wants to gather all of the information, that wants to, you know, they aim the arrow. They always are pointing their arrow in different directions and letting it fly, sometimes more than one direction all at once. I know a couple of Sagittarians that like to, I mean, I'm a Sagittarius moon, so I do the same thing. But this will be, there's going to be a really big change in the way that you see your own freedom and the way that you see your own abundance and the way that you see your life starting to open up. Obvious info won't be really, really clear. There will be a lot of stuff, you know, I've been kind of, and I know that there's controversy around the vaccine, and I mean, every single time I talk about something that's controversial, there's always going to be somebody that may not agree with me. But I guarantee you, having this vaccine distributed when Neptune is square both of the nodes and Mercury is on the south node and the sun is conjunct this, like when everything is just sparking that south node, which is the past. It's the distant past. It's the illusion. It's, you know, we've already been through this, right? But a new vaccine being distributed during this time, you know, I'm personally, for me, I would not trust it, right? But I also don't know the science, the exact science behind it. So, and everybody needs to go off their own intuition. Everybody needs to go off their own truth. That's just my standpoint right now, because it's so brand new, and with the astrology that's going on, may not be the best time for that to be distributed. But again, there's a lot of other stuff that goes behind it other than astrology. So, you know, I want you to make sure, and that's basically like me telling you, make sure through this solar eclipse and through this entire week, you really learn what your truth is, and you really allow yourself to stand up for your truth in that, because the Sagittarius solar eclipse that's going to be conjunct the north or the south node, and it's going to be, Mercury's going to be on the south node. Just don't believe everything that you hear. Venus will also be sextiling Jupiter during this solar eclipse. And so there's this big expansion of wanting to trust and have faith and the value to see, you know. This can be a huge heart chakra activation for some people. And really like looking into what they used to believe or what they used to value versus where they are now and where they value and what they believe today as well can be very, very different after this solar eclipse. So really have a lot of faith in yourself, really trust yourself, and be patient. I think that's the biggest thing, because we're all shifting and changing and transforming right now. And there is no exact answer. Like, nobody has the exact right answer. The exact right answer for you is what you believe, right? Like, it's not necessarily going to be what I'm saying or what somebody else is saying either. You really have to be able to stand in your own truth and what you feel to be true right now. Okay, so Tuesday, the 15th, the moon is in Capricorn. This is the last time we have the moon in Capricorn, with Saturn and Jupiter also in Capricorn for like 200 years or something like that. Like, I haven't done the actual math of all of that, but it's going to be a really, Tuesday is a big, big energy day. There's a lot going on. So we have Mercury trining Mars. Good Lord. So we have Mercury trining Mars on Tuesday. This, like, slow down. Like, in a really, like, if you're out driving and stuff, really pay attention to your driving on Tuesday. This will be really good for intellectual pursuits in a big way. So if you have a test or something that you have to take this week, Tuesday is going to be the best day to do that. And because your mind is going to be very, very stimulated. Venus is going to be sextile Saturn, and Venus is going to sextile Saturn, and then like 2 hours later, it's going to shift into Sagittarius. So Venus in Scorpio is sextiling Saturn in Capricorn. And so that's that emotional maturity that we're all sort of getting into. If you are in a relationship or you're meeting somebody new, like you really might be wanting to find like that long-term partner right now. That's kind of that transit where you may want to, like, you really want to look at a partnership, or you really want to look at love, but it needs to be practical and it needs to make sense, and it needs to be something that's going to be long-term and mature kind of thing. If you're already in a partnership or you're already in a committed relationship, this may just really help solidify things and really like bring it to the next level. You may also recognize with this Venus sextile Saturn transit some lessons when it comes to love, and some of the things, like if you're not in a partnership or you're not like currently wanting to date anybody or anything like that, you may really be learning like, what is it that I really, really value? Is it the same that I really valued at this time last year? Is it the same kind of value that I had a month ago? Like really asking yourself questions on what is it that I value, because that's what like a long-term relationship can kind of like start with, is your own personal value systems. And to, you know, don't sleep on your values. Like if you have specific needs in a relationship, that doesn't make it too, like you're not being too much. You know, when you have, this is kind of like putting high standards out there, right? Like make sure that you're not sleeping on your standards. Make sure you're not sleeping on your values, your morals and values. This can be a really karmic time for relationships as well. So if there are things that you have to learn within your partnership, this Venus sextile Saturn is going to do that. And then Venus moves into Sagittarius on Tuesday. And there is a need for freedom when it comes to Sagittarius and love. So, you know, Sagittarius can't be boxed in. Sagittarius isn't that kind of relationship where you're always at home on a Saturday night and you're not like out having a good time or whatever. Sagittarius in Venus is about the freedom to love and the freedom to be able to express your love in that kind of way. And it's a very intellectual kind of love as well. You have to be your own person. When you are with somebody who has their Venus in Sagittarius, they expect for you to be your own person because they're going to be their own person. They're going to go their own way. It's really funny because a lot of people think that it's very wishy-washy of a Sagittarius to be like that. But honestly, if a Sagittarius is committed to you in any way, shape, or form, whether they have a Venus, a Sun, a Mercury, a Mars, like whatever energy, a Moon in Sagittarius, if they're committed to you in any way, shape, or form, then you know that it's real, because they didn't do that in a light kind of way. Like they really made sure, you know, if a Sagittarius is committed, it's because they want to be, right? It's not, you know, so if they're being wishy-washy, then that means that they're still sort of on the fence about things, and that they just need to have that open space to be able to roam, if you will. Venus in Sagittarius is about learning lessons to expand yourself when it comes to love and to just be bigger. Like Sagittarius doesn't do anything small, that's for sure. Chiron is also going direct in Aries on Tuesday. I told you there's a lot of stuff going on this week, a lot of stuff happening on Tuesday for sure. Chiron is going direct in Aries, where it has been retrograde since July 11th. And during that retrograde, we've really been able to look at what our own individual needs are, right? And now that Chiron is going direct in Aries, this is about finding your own identity. You know, we've had all of these lessons about really looking about what we need individually, what we need to feel good, what we need to be able to grow, what we need to be able to evolve within ourselves during this retrograde season. And now it's about finding out your own identity and sticking to it, and not letting somebody else define who you are based on their perception, based on the woundings that they've had. This is about healing your own wounds and being your own warrior as we're like stepping into 2021. Got Chiron and Aries. Don't get lost in the fantasy of being a particular person, but really let yourself like stand firm in that limelight. Really let yourself stand firm and like don't let it be an illusion. Let it be a reality for you. Okay, so Wednesday. Wednesday is this final transit. The moon in Capricorn is going to be conjunct Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. Really pay attention to the emotional lessons. This is about really allowing ourselves to emotionally mature. This is that day, the day before Saturn moves into Aquarius, where Jupiter and Saturn will both be at that 29th degree in Capricorn. So, and when we have that final degree in any sign before a planet transitions over, it's a very karmic placement to have. This is about leaving all of that past bullshit behind, really paying attention to the lessons that we learned during the time of the transit. And like, this is like that last ditch effort, that last squeeze. You know, we talked about Saturn being at that 29th degree for the entire week. And now that Jupiter is there and they're really close to that exact conjunction, like they're at the same degree, they're just not at the same seconds, right? And what I mean by that is when you look at the chart, you can see the degree of where the planet is, and then that little tiny number is the seconds, right? And that's how we know when there's an exact conjunction, is by that second. But that final transit of, you know, this moon in Capricorn is like, where's that emotional maturity for you? And Wednesday is going to be that day that I really want you guys to pay attention to how it plays out, because all of the things that are going to be coming up, whether it's in work, you know, Capricorn is the goat, Capricorn is the workhorse. So whether these things are in work or whether these things are in your relationships or the emotional aspect of your relationships, there are some final lessons that we're all learning about ourselves and about the people around us, so that we can, you know, venture forward and move forward and push forward in some things, and leave the, you know, not leave the past behind, but learn our lessons from the past. I feel like on Wednesday, like this week, it feels like there's something political that might happen this week, because it is a really karmic week and we're really going through that big shift of energies from earth into air. And so I don't know, I feel like there might be, and there's always really something, I think every week something, some kind of political unrest happens or some kind of political thing, but I think it's going to be around the vaccine, since it's going to be distributing. That's just my hot take. Like, I'm sure that other astrologers have some pretty good ideas or even better ideas about what might happen this week. So, okay. Thursday, the 17th is the big day. Saturn moving into Aquarius. Saturn will be in Aquarius until March 7th of 2023. This is about long-term organization for the betterment of humanity. So Saturn is going to be teaching us lessons on how to do better for the betterment of everybody, for the good of everybody. Aquarius is the innovators. This is going to be really good, teaching all of us how to use technology in a better way. I feel like, you know, the whole subscription thing, you know how like all of these subscriptions are coming up. I think that's a lot of Uranus and Taurus action with all of these subscriptions, all of these, like, you know, we're going to like electronic payments of everything. I even told my kid today, I'm like, why are you giving me cash? Like, people don't even use cash anymore because of the pandemic right now. And I think that we're actually going to be moving a little bit further away from the whole cash thing, starting even with the fact that we don't even have coins that are available. It's much easier to get sick holding all of those coins or holding all of that cash, because the virus will stay on surfaces for longer. So that's sort of why that's happening. And it's just much cleaner, right? When we use the electronic system, or we use debit cards, or we use PayPal, or like whatever, all of these like online banking systems and like the Bitcoin stuff, like all of that's really going to expand while Saturn is in Aquarius. This is a really innovative time. Long-term organization, social structures are going to be scrutinized. Things are going to be looked at in very, very detailed ways, so that we can do better as a community, so we can do better as a collective, so we can rise up from where we were and moving forward, because Aquarius doesn't like to stay the same. And if you think about what happened when Saturn moved into Aquarius early in March, and how the social structures of the Black Lives Matter movement, like we couldn't continue to do that kind of governmental structure anymore. It wasn't helping out the community. It wasn't helping out the collective. it had to be brought to light, and it was in a very, very big and dramatic way. And it needed to be brought to everybody's attention in that kind of way. And that's just kind of a taste of what's going to happen while Saturn is in Aquarius, because we can't keep doing things the same way and expect to evolve and expect to be better humans and expect to be better people. Saturn takes a really, really, really slow approach. Saturn's going to really, like, he's going to unveil the weak spots in the system, and then we're going to shift the energies with those weak spots to help strengthen outcomes that are going to be different and they're going to be better. Look at where, so Saturn takes this as a slow approach to a positive outcome. So it may, and that's where the painful part is that it takes it's a slow amount of time to get there. But Saturn does eventually get the job done, because that's like the guy that he is. He's not going to leave something unfinished. So look to where Saturn is transiting in your chart so you can actually see the weak spots of your own lessons that you need to learn when it comes to bettering yourself, not just for yourself, but for society, and bettering yourself for humanity. So then we also have the moon in Aquarius. So the moon is going to conjunct Saturn right off the bat. So we're having that emotional surge, that emotional security, that emotional lift there when it comes to, the lessons that we need to learn on how we interact and react emotionally, those triggers that we probably have. And the moon is also going to be squaring Uranus. So you may feel like there are some emotional triggers that happen all at the same time with Saturn moving into Aquarius, the moon conjuncting Saturn, and because the moon's going to be conjunct Saturn in Capricorn, moving into Aquarius as well. Like, it's all going to be happening at the same time. And then it's going to square with Uranus. So there might be some emotional insights, a lot of aha moments with this transit. Might not happen that day, but sometime this week or even the day after, like on Friday, that could happen as well. So on the 18th, it's really interesting because we have this really big day on the 17th and we have this really big day on the 19th, and then the 18th is kind of smushed right in the middle there, where there's not really any very big aspects that are happening. The moon is in Aquarius. It's going to be sextile Mars, and it will also be sextile Mercury and the sun in Sagittarius. So just a lot of high energy. I feel like Friday is actually going to be a high mentally stimulating day. It could also be very exhausting for some people. I know for me personally, my body reacts to the positions of the planets and the transit. Like, I know when a transit happens. Like, if I start to shift or I feel a certain way in the middle of the day for absolutely no reason, I'm like, I wonder what planet is transiting right now, or wonder what planet is aspecting this or aspecting that. So I can, that's why I pay attention so close to astrology, is because I know that my behaviors and the way that I feel and my emotional state and everything that I do is really based on what the planets are doing. So you could be exhausted from that transit of Saturn moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. It could energize you, especially on Friday when there's like high mental stimulation that's going on, and really just a feeling of wanting to get things done, and really just a feeling of like, let's do this already, like let's move into the future. You're probably also feeling the anticipation of Jupiter shifting into Aquarius, which is going to be a really big feeling of expansion of like let's fix this stuff. Like, what is going on here? Let's fix this stuff. And that's where we get to the 19th, where Jupiter does move into Aquarius. So Jupiter will be in Aquarius. He's going to fly right through Aquarius and go into Pisces May of 2021. So May 13th of 2021, Jupiter will hit Pisces, and he will be there until July 29th when he retrogrades back into Aquarius to finish off his transit in Aquarius that will end on December 30th, 2021. So Jupiter will be, and Jupiter is exalted in Pisces. Jupiter actually is the traditional ruler of Pisces. So that's going to be a really nice little sweet spot that we get next year. May to July. And I think that that's going to be a time where, like, I love that it's happening in the summer, because maybe we might actually have a real actual summer next year and be able to do things. I tell you, my Sagittarius moon, it needs to travel so bad. I can't stand it. So hopefully there's hopefully there's like some sweet spots that we feel a little bit more freedom, because that's what Jupiter in Pisces is going to give us. It's going to give us a lot of open up and freedom and feeling like we can express ourselves and move around and stuff. But so this Jupiter in Aquarius transit, 8:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 19th. So most of us are going to wake up in the morning and Jupiter will be in Aquarius. This is about future forward momentum. This is really going to be a great time for technological advances. This is going to be a really great, strong push to create more, to improve humanity and the world just around us, in our little world and the world at large. There's going to be a lot of equality and human rights talk, I feel like, with Jupiter in Aquarius. I feel like there's going to be a lot more freedom for us. Like, this is really going to help to expand our freedom when it comes to, like, we've all been in this lockdown for the better part of a year. And when being in that lockdown and then all of a sudden we really want to expand ourselves, that could be a problem. So Jupiter in Aquarius is going to make us all sort of like stir crazy, I think, in the beginning, especially since we're going to have the big square to Uranus, Saturn and Uranus. So Uranus and Mars are going to be conjunct at the beginning of the year, and Saturn is going to be squaring that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get there in the next couple of weeks. But there will be some rocky spots when we first start, because everybody's going to be really, really antsy. Everybody's going to get really anxious. Like, we just want to go back to a normal existence. And it'll never be 100% normal again. We will always be sort of looking over our shoulder or looking out for, you know, what's that next thing that's going to sort of just like fall? Like, when is the other shoe going to drop? When is the basket of eggs going to fall? Like, we're all sort of going to be on guard, I guess, with that. And this Jupiter in Aquarius energy is probably going to expand upon that antsiness. So pay attention to where you, in your chart, your personal chart, where you're supposed to be expanding, and really getting in tune with your journey and really getting in tune with the path that you're supposed to be on, so that we can all kind of do the betterment for humanity at large in a really, really big way. Everybody's perception of freedom and equality is different. Everybody's perception of freedom and equality is different. I had to say that twice because I need you guys to understand that your idea of freedom is different than my idea of freedom, because we've all grown up differently, even if we're in the same race, even if we're in the same class system, even if we're in the same, like, whatever it is, right? My perception is going to be 100% different than your perception. Maybe not 100% different, but it will most likely be different. So when I am giving you my opinions or I'm giving you my hot takes, you may not resonate with that. You may not like fully understand where I'm coming from, but you have to remember that with everybody, that if somebody says something or somebody has a perception of freedom, like, you're taking my freedom away from wearing a mask or whatever it is, right? It doesn't, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're wrong. It's just the way that everything is perceived. So when I say that Jupiter in Aquarius is really going to help us want to expand our freedom when it comes to the betterment of humanity, you have to understand that right now there's such a division, right? There's such a division between people right now. And I'm not just talking about the United States. I'm talking about the whole world. There's such a division between people right now because of the perceptions, because of the way we all perceive things to be different, the way that things are going on in the world. So you have to understand that just because somebody doesn't believe in your own personal freedom or believe in your own personal truth, that doesn't make them a bad person. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is how we're going to change our minds. This is how we're going to change society, by understanding that everybody is individual and whole on their own. And then we just come together and we learn how to respect each other a little bit more. It's not about agreeing with each other. It's not about saying I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. It's not about that. It's about respecting that everybody has different positions. And I think that's what's going to bring this whole Jupiter and Aquarius expansion in a really big way. This Jupiter transit is also going to add to the instability of the Uranus transit. And if you've watched how that Uranus transit in Taurus, how it's like really changed just the weather, right? Like it's changed the seasons, it's changed the weather. There's been a lot more weather catastrophe, or like a lot more natural disasters this year than I think we would normally would with this Uranus and Taurus. You know, if you think about Uranus, he's the one that shakes everything up, and Taurus is all stable and calm and like all the morals and values of a Taurus, right? So we've had to shift everything. It's not just about what we're doing on a regular basis. It's not just about the pandemic shifting, but it's also about like, how are we treating the environment? How are we treating the earth? That is another Aquarius thing. Like this is going to probably, I mean, like, if you are somebody who doesn't recycle right now, like I don't know anybody who doesn't recycle, but if you're not somebody that's, if you're somebody that's not recycling things, or you're not a big recycler, that may change. That may be something where you're realizing, oh wow, I actually have much more trash than I should. Or if you're not somebody that does compost, like a compost pile, like maybe that's something that changes. But that's just an example. So even thinking that in a big broad scale, there might be a different way that we we're utilizing the environment that we're in, instead of like taking advantage of it, if you will. Okay, so this Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius transit and shift is going to bring to our attention all of the ways that we need to change to be better people in society, and like better people as a group and a community and a collective. And I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see how all of this plays out. Next week is going to be the Great Conjunction. And what's really interesting is we sort of have a small conjunction that's happening with that in Capricorn to squeeze out those final lessons for us to see. So this should be a really interesting week, and I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're having nice holiday season, a nice holiday season. I know it's a little bit strange and a little bit weird, but I actually am finding it to be much more intimate. It's a much more intimate process this year, because it's not so much about how much money can be spent on everybody, but it's more about like, you know, I know that for me personally, my family is taking precautions so that we can be together to celebrate the holidays this year. So we're not like, they're not like going out, you know, they're making sure that they're staying in quarantine so that we can be healthy and come together this year. So just a very interesting time, and I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. So I will see you all next week for the next energy update. Have a good week. Bye.